There are moments in life when it feels like the world has completely disappeared. You're walking a path that no one else seems to notice, climbing a mountain that is hidden in fog, and every step feels heavier than the last. You look around and realize that no one is cheering for you. No one is acknowledging your effort, and it seems as if your struggle is invisible. At times, it feels like you're carrying the weight of the entire world alone. And the question arises, is this worth it if no one is here to support me? But it's precisely in these quiet, unseen moments that something remarkable begins to happen inside you. Carl Jung once said that every rebirth begins with dissolution, which means that before something new can emerge, the old must first fall apart. When the world becomes silent, when you find yourself standing without anyone to lean on, your soul begins to stretch and prepare for growth in ways that external applause could never create. The first step toward mastering the ability to get ahead, even when no one is there for you, is learning to embrace solitude. Loneliness is not a punishment or a sign that you are failing. It is a teacher, a silent guide helping you build a foundation that is stronger than any external support could provide. Many people fear this stage because it requires them to face themselves without distraction. They look around for reassurance, for confirmation that they are still on the right path. But no one comes. Conversations feel hollow. Familiar relationships feel distant. And the activities that once gave life meaning no longer excite you. This is not the end, it is a beginning. It is the first sign that the mask you have worn to fit in, to please others, is slowly dissolving. And beneath it lies the core of your true self, waiting to emerge. I once knew a man who had lost his job unexpectedly. Around him, friends and family existed, but they could not truly grasp the loneliness he felt inside. Initially, he panicked and tried to distract himself with noise, social media, and meaningless conversations. But slowly, he allowed himself to sit with the emptiness, to feel the fear, the uncertainty, and even the despair. Each morning, he walked alone, journaled his thoughts, and confronted questions he had long avoided. At first, it was painful, almost unbearable. Yet gradually, he discovered something profound. The silence he had feared was not empty. It was a mirror showing him the resilience he already possessed, the strength that no one could give him, but that had been within him all along. Like an oak tree standing alone in the winter, stripped of leaves and color, his roots were growing deeper, anchoring him to the ground in preparation for the spring of his transformation. This is the nature of solitude. It forces intentionality. Each step, each choice, each commitment you make in these unseen moments is a brick in the foundation of your inner strength. The world may remain silent. That does not mean your effort is meaningless. On the contrary, this is the stage where you learn that the truest strength does not need validation or applause. It is forged in quiet persistence, in the repeated acts of courage and integrity that no one else witnesses, but that ultimately define who you are becoming. Loneliness, when embraced, transforms from a burden into a guide, a gym for the soul where your essence is refined into a resilient, unshakable core. And when you finally look back, you will realize that it was these unseen months of quiet struggle that shaped the most enduring version of yourself, preparing you to rise and move forward even when the world remains unaware of your journey. Once you have begun to embrace solitude and face the raw truth of your own inner world, the next challenge arises, deeper and more subtle than loneliness itself. It is the realization that you cannot depend on others to make you feel whole, to soothe your fears, or to validate your worth. Many people spend years unconsciously surrendering their emotional power to someone else, believing that another person's responses define their happiness, safety, or self-esteem. Carl Jung observed that this reliance on external validation is the hallmark of an unintegrated ego, a self that has not yet learned to anchor itself from within. I once met a woman who had spent years in a relationship where every single word, gesture, or message determined how she felt about herself. If her partner failed to reply immediately, panic and anxiety would rise, as if her very existence depended on someone else noticing her. She didn't realize that the fear was never about him. It was about her own unmet needs and the inner voice that had learned, during her childhood, that her feelings didn't matter. Over time, through reflection, journaling, and conscious effort, she began to learn the art of self-soothing. She learned to listen to herself, to comfort herself, and to acknowledge her emotions without relying on anyone else to provide reassurance. Every time sadness, fear, or uncertainty arose, she would pause, place her hand over her heart, and whisper, "I am still here. I am enough. I can handle this." This simple but profound act marked the birth of emotional independence, a stage of personal evolution where the self begins to take control of its own well-being. Emotional independence does not mean rejecting love, relationships, or connection. It simply means that your sense of stability, worth, and inner peace does not rely on the fleeting approval of others. When you reach this stage, you discover a quiet but immense power. The realization that everything you have ever sought externally, strength, love, peace, has always been within you, waiting to be acknowledged. The practice of comforting yourself, of taking full responsibility for your own emotions, allows you to stop projecting your needs onto others. It frees you from the trap of constantly seeking approval, praise, or reassurance. It is a turning point, a subtle but irreversible shift in how you experience the world. Once you stop depending on others to hold your emotional space, you no longer experience panic when the world goes silent. You no longer collapse when people withdraw or fail to respond. Instead, you stand, calm, steady, and capable of moving forward because your foundation comes from inside. The world may remain unaware of your progress, and no one may recognize the effort you are putting in. Yet this is exactly how growth occurs, quietly, unseen, and independently. Like a sculptor chiseling away at stone, the true form of your character and resilience emerges only through repeated practice and conscious attention to your own inner life. This stage teaches you that while relationships, connections, and love are beautiful and necessary, your core cannot and should not rely on them for validation. You learn to exist fully, to feel fully, and to move forward fully, even when no one is there to affirm your presence. And in that independence, something remarkable happens. You become unshakable. You no longer fear rejection, silence, or abandonment because you have built a source of strength within yourself that no one can take away. This lesson is profound because it reshapes your relationship not only with others, but also with yourself. Instead of constantly questioning your worth based on how others treat you, you begin to measure your life by the integrity of your actions, the alignment of your choices with your values, and the quiet faith you have in your own capacity to endure, create, and thrive. Emotional independence is the bridge between surviving loneliness and transforming it into mastery. It is the stage where you finally realize that no one can save you. And that's not a limitation. It is freedom. Freedom to stand tall. Freedom to walk forward. Freedom to rise even when no one is there to cheer, notice, or understand. Once you have learned to stand in your own strength and comfort yourself emotionally, a new challenge emerges, one that tests the maturity of your mind and the depth of your growth. This challenge is the habit of complaining, the unconscious tendency to dwell on what is wrong rather than focusing on what can be done. Complaining is subtle but powerful. It quietly anchors the ego in victimhood and keeps you trapped in the comfort of stagnation. Every "why me?" or "this isn't fair" reinforces the belief that you are powerless. And the more you indulge in it, the more energy you give to the part of you that prefers to remain small. Carl Jung called this the shadow of self-pity, the unconscious mechanism that convinces you to stay stuck while feeling justified in your suffering. I once met a woman who had been betrayed by friends. For 6 months, she retold the story of their betrayal over and over, consuming her energy, her time, and her peace. Each retelling gave her a false sense of action, a feeling that she was processing the hurt. But in reality, she was trapped in repetition, unable to move forward. One night, she asked herself a question that would change everything. If no one were here to hear me complain, would I even tell this story? The answer was no. That realization became a turning point. She began to redirect her energy toward reflection, learning, and action. Instead of recounting her pain, she journaled about the lessons she could extract, the decisions she could make differently, and the steps she could take to reclaim her life. This is the hidden power of stopping complaint. It releases the energy trapped in bitterness and redirects it toward growth and forward movement. Every time you stop blaming circumstances or others for your suffering and begin asking, "What can I do about this?" you take control of your life. You move from the shadow of helplessness into the light of conscious action. Complaining does not eliminate pain, nor does it deny hardship, but it prolongs stagnation. Every moment spent repeating grievances is a moment that could have been invested in building resilience, learning a new skill, creating something meaningful, or nurturing your inner life. Consider the metaphor of a stone at the bottom of a river. The water is relentless, crashing and grinding, appearing destructive at first. But over time, the current polishes the stone, smooths its edges, and transforms it into something beautiful. Life operates in the same way. When you endure challenges without complaint, when you face the discomfort directly, the currents of life shape you into a stronger, more refined version of yourself. Stopping complaint is not denial or suppression. It is active engagement with your reality, choosing responsibility over victimhood, action over inertia. Each time you do this, you reclaim your power. The energy that once fueled resentment now fuels creativity, insight, and personal growth. You begin to understand that no one else is responsible for your progress, your joy, or your sense of accomplishment. That responsibility lies entirely with you, and embracing it is liberating. Complaining keeps you tethered to a version of life that no longer serves you, while conscious action frees you to shape the life you truly desire. The more you practice this, the less external circumstances dictate your inner state. You begin to rise not because someone else pushes you, but because you refuse to remain in the darkness of inactivity. In doing so, you cultivate a quiet, steady strength that becomes the foundation for every future challenge. By learning to stop complaining, you no longer give away your power to the world or to the opinions of others. Instead, you use every setback, every disappointment, and every moment of discomfort as fuel to build yourself from the inside out. And in that space, the ability to get ahead even when no one is there becomes less about circumstance and more about the mastery of yourself. You learn that rising above adversity is not dependent on support, recognition, or comfort. It is dependent on the conscious decision to act with courage, persistence, and unwavering resolve. It is in this practice, over time, that you begin to discover the extraordinary capacity of your own will, the quiet strength that carries you forward even in the absence of applause, validation, or companionship. After you have learned to stop complaining and take full responsibility for your life, a deeper, more subtle challenge arises, one that tests your ability to maintain progress when the world remains silent. This is the stage where you learn to become your own source of validation. It is a stage where every effort you make may go unnoticed, where every act of dedication, every ounce of hard work may not receive a single word of praise. And yet, it is precisely here, in this space of seeming invisibility, that true mastery begins. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Because when you learn to validate yourself, you no longer rely on others to affirm your worth. You no longer need applause, recognition, or acknowledgement because you have become your own witness. I once spoke with a woman who had spent years dedicating herself to her work, often staying late into the night, meticulously completing tasks that no one seemed to notice. Her colleagues were praised, while her efforts went unseen. Initially, she felt disheartened and frustrated, wondering if all her effort was meaningless. But one day, she made a conscious choice. Instead of seeking validation from others, she would start noticing her own dedication, her own progress, and reward herself privately for her achievements. She began to celebrate the small victories, a project completed, a goal met, a challenge overcome. Over time, she realized that external recognition was fleeting, temporary, and unpredictable. But self-validation created a lasting, unshakable sense of pride and confidence. This is the essence of becoming your own source of validation. It shifts your focus from the unpredictable reactions of the world to the reliable acknowledgement of your own effort. It allows you to rise steadily, not because others push you forward, but because you have learned to measure your worth from within. Like Cassandra in Greek mythology, who was gifted with foresight yet cursed so no one would believe her, you may continue to act, create, and persevere without external approval. Her story serves as a metaphor for anyone who strives to honor their truth quietly, even when the world refuses to notice. Staying true to yourself, even in isolation, is the foundation of resilience. Many people falter at this stage because they are afraid of invisibility. The absence of recognition feels like rejection, but in reality, it is the universe testing whether you can maintain your path when there is no immediate reward. Self-validation is not arrogance. It is profound self-respect. It is the ability to acknowledge your own effort, to celebrate your own growth, and to find fulfillment in your own commitment. Every time you rise to the challenge without expecting a reward or approval, you are strengthening your inner authority. This stage also teaches the subtle art of patience. Recognition, if it comes at all, is secondary. Your focus is on the process, the integrity of your actions, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that you are becoming the person you need to be. In this space, your resilience becomes self-sustaining. You no longer need others to confirm your value or guide your path. You are capable of leading yourself. The world may remain silent, indifferent, and unaware of your efforts, but your inner compass remains strong and true. Every project completed, every challenge faced, every moment of perseverance becomes a brick in the foundation of self-reliance. And when you operate from this space of inner validation, you begin to notice a shift in how you experience life. You move through challenges with steadiness, through disappointment with calm, and through isolation with confidence. The absence of external recognition no longer feels like a void. Instead, it feels like freedom. Freedom to act without expectation, to grow without comparison, and to rise without seeking approval. Jung believed that by looking within, by embracing your own worth and acknowledging your own strength, you transform the very essence of your being. You discover that the power to get ahead, even when no one is there for you, has always existed inside. It is not borrowed, it is not contingent on circumstance, and it cannot be taken away. When you reach this stage, you are no longer dependent on the world to validate your journey. You have become your own witness, your own guide, and your own source of light. Even after mastering solitude, emotional independence, and self-validation, life will continue to test you, often in ways that feel unfair or harsh. This is the stage where failure enters, not as a punishment, but as a teacher. Failure has a unique power. It exposes the parts of yourself that are still unhealed, the fears and insecurities that linger beneath the surface. Carl Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And in these moments of collapse, you are confronted with the raw reality of your growth. Imagine walking a path you have been building alone, steadily, with no one to cheer, and suddenly tripping over an obstacle that seems small but shakes your confidence. You feel exposed, weak, and tempted to retreat to the comfort of old habits, to the versions of yourself that sought approval, safety, and validation from others. But here lies the critical lesson. Failure is not a sign that you are incapable. It is a signal that there is more within you to integrate and strengthen. I once met a woman who ran a small business she had built from scratch. After years of hard work, her partner betrayed her, leaving her with almost nothing. For months, she felt broken, consumed by guilt, fear, and despair. She could have given up. She could have returned to what was familiar, to the comfort of someone else's expectations or approval. But instead, she allowed herself to feel the pain fully, to examine what the failure was teaching her. She realized that her intuition, which she had ignored for years in favor of external opinions, was the key to moving forward. Slowly, she began to rise, step by step, journaling, reflecting, and rebuilding her business with wisdom born from experience rather than fear. This is the essence of rising after failure. It is about transforming the fall into fuel. Every time you stumble without support, without applause, without anyone to hold you, you are forced to engage with your own strength. The shadow parts of yourself, the self-doubt, the fear of rejection, the lingering need for approval, are illuminated, examined, and integrated. In that process, you become more real, more grounded, and more capable than before. Neuroscience supports this transformation. When we face failure and respond with conscious action rather than despair, our prefrontal cortex activates, releasing dopamine, the chemical of learning, progress, and hope, while fear and inaction trigger cortisol, which paralyzes. In other words, rising quickly after a fall strengthens not just your mind, but your brain's capacity to respond with clarity and resilience. Life, like the river that polishes stones, continues to flow regardless of our comfort, and the way we engage with its currents determines the shape of our character. Failure, when faced consciously, becomes the forge in which your resilience is tempered, the fire that burns away the unnecessary, leaving only what is essential. Each time you rise, even after repeated falls, you reinforce the truth that your strength does not depend on circumstance, recognition, or support. It is cultivated from within, through courage, persistence, and the deliberate choice to act despite fear. Think of the phoenix, which regenerates through fire. Each fall, each setback, each moment of collapse is an opportunity to shed the outer layers that no longer serve you and rise anew, brighter, steadier, and stronger. The path to getting ahead when no one is there is paved not with comfort, but with these moments of conscious recovery. You learn to stand on your own, to trust your own judgment, and to act even when the external world seems indifferent or absent. True growth is never about avoiding failure. It is about responding to it with intentionality, integrating the lessons, and moving forward with unwavering resolve. The person who masters this does not wait for someone to lift them up, nor do they require applause to continue. Each rise is a declaration of independence, a testament to the power of self-reliance, and a confirmation that every fall is merely a step on the path toward becoming stronger than you were before. In these moments, you realize that your strength was never dependent on anyone else. You are capable of rising again and again because the source of power, resilience, and courage has always been within you. After rising from failure and learning to trust your own strength, the next stage of growth challenges you to act even when you do not feel motivated, inspired, or emotionally ready. This is the stage where discipline takes precedence over fleeting feelings, where willpower becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Carl Jung described will as the energy capable of reorganizing the psyche, a force that transcends emotion and carries you forward even when the heart is heavy and the mind doubts. Many people wait for inspiration to strike, believing that motivation is the prerequisite for action. But in reality, inspiration is a reward for consistent effort, not its foundation. I once met a single mother working 2 jobs, exhausted, overwhelmed, and on the verge of surrendering to fatigue. Each day felt heavier than the last, and yet she had a dream she refused to abandon. Despite feeling drained and uninspired, she rose every morning at 5, not because she felt motivated, but because she chose to act from will. She wrote her goals, planned her steps, and slowly, day by day, moved closer to her dream. Eventually, her bakery opened, modest but thriving, built entirely from her perseverance and steadfast commitment, with no external cheerleaders to propel her forward. This is the essence of will over emotion, the ability to act regardless of how you feel, to persist when motivation is absent, and to create progress through deliberate, consistent steps. Inspiration may come and go like the wind, unpredictable and uncontrollable, but will is steady, unshakable, and always available if you choose to use it. The moments when you push forward despite fatigue, doubt, or fear are the moments that define your character, the invisible work that separates those who get ahead from those who wait for the world to hand them opportunity. Angela Duckworth, the psychologist who popularized the concept of grit, explained that extraordinary achievement is rarely the result of talent alone, but of sustained effort, persistence, and the ability to act when conditions are not perfect. Every act taken without relying on emotion strengthens the bridge between your conscious mind and the deeper self, training your inner compass to navigate uncertainty, adversity, and silence with clarity and confidence. Willpower, in this sense, is not the absence of fear, doubt, or fatigue. It is the decision to move forward in spite of them, to cultivate action as a habit that transcends mood. Jung wrote that the freedom of will is the ability to do gladly what must be done, not only what you desire. True mastery comes when you no longer wait for the heart to feel ready. You act because the work is necessary, the goal meaningful, and your integrity uncompromised. Acting from will rather than inspiration builds resilience in a way comfort never can. It teaches that progress is independent of emotion, that your path does not bend to the whims of temporary feelings, and that the true measure of strength is consistency in action. The person who masters this stage learns to respect themselves through their own deeds, not the applause of others, and to create outcomes by the sheer force of commitment. It is here, in the quiet, disciplined persistence that no one witnesses, that the invisible work of life produces visible results. The key to getting ahead when no one is there is not waiting for perfect conditions, but developing the capacity to act regardless of conditions. You may feel tired, lonely, or unseen, but the choice to act anyway becomes the foundation of self-reliance, accomplishment, and fulfillment. Every small step taken consistently compounds over time, transforming what once seemed impossible into reality. Acting without relying on emotion strengthens the inner voice, sharpens focus, and builds trust in yourself. You realize that the power to continue, to grow, and to succeed does not lie in external circumstances or fleeting feelings. It lies entirely within your own disciplined action. This is how you become unstoppable, how you develop the habit of progress even when the world is silent, and how you rise ahead, fueled by will rather than reaction, by consistency rather than luck, by the unwavering decision to honor your path regardless of recognition, comfort, or support. After mastering will and learning to act consistently without waiting for inspiration, you reach a profound realization. You don't need anyone to understand you. This is the final stage, the culmination of every challenge, lesson, and quiet victory along the path. All the effort, discipline, resilience, and self-validation you have cultivated now converge into a single truth. Your growth, your journey, and your accomplishments are your own. For years, many of us live seeking understanding from others, craving acknowledgement, and hoping that someone will see the depth of our struggles and triumphs. But life rarely gives us that confirmation. Carl Jung once wrote, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." When you stop seeking approval and understanding from others, you begin to hear your own voice clearly, to see your own path with lucidity, and to trust your own judgment without hesitation. I once heard the story of a young painter who spent years creating art for trends, exhibitions, and sales, trying desperately to be seen, accepted, and appreciated. She grew exhausted, creatively drained, and disconnected from the very thing that had first inspired her. One day, she decided to leave the city, rent a small house by a lake, and spend a month entirely alone, painting not for others, but for herself. She turned inward, listening to what her soul wanted to express, embracing the silence, the solitude, and the absence of validation. When she returned, her art had transformed. It was raw, alive, and full of meaning. It no longer sought attention. It simply existed as an expression of her inner truth. Eventually, a gallery in Berlin discovered her work and invited her to exhibit. But she realized that the recognition was no longer what mattered. What mattered was that she had learned to stand in her own light, to act authentically, and to create without expectation. This is the paradox that Jung described. When you stop asking the world to understand you, you become a center of inward gravity. Your presence itself radiates, attracting what belongs naturally, without effort, without seeking. Love, respect, creativity, and fulfillment arise from your own acceptance, not from the validation of others. In this stage, you understand that the world cannot fully grasp your depth, and that is not a flaw in them or in you. It is simply the nature of individuality. Only you can truly understand the depth of your journey, the silent struggles you have faced, and the lessons you have learned. Others may see fragments of your effort, but they cannot witness the entirety of your growth. And yet, when you stop expecting understanding, you stop feeling incomplete. You no longer seek saviors, cheerleaders, or witnesses because you have become your own. Your light is sufficient, your presence steady, and your soul at peace. Humans are like lighthouses in this sense. A lighthouse does not shout to be seen, it simply stands, shining steadily, guiding those who are lost without needing acknowledgement. You are the same. When you learn to stand in your own light, the people and opportunities that resonate with your energy are naturally drawn to you. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." This awakening is not dramatic or loud. It is quiet, persistent, and transformative. It is the moment when you realize that everything you ever sought, love, guidance, peace, and recognition, was within you all along. The journey of getting ahead, even when no one is there for you, is not about changing the world, forcing others to understand, or demanding recognition. It is about becoming the person who is complete, steady, and luminous on their own. Acceptance of self, integration of experience, and trust in your own path allow you to move forward without hesitation or fear. You have faced loneliness, stopped relying on others for emotional stability, embraced self-validation, risen from failure, acted through willpower, and now, finally, you stand undeterred by the absence of understanding. In this place, you discover an extraordinary freedom. The freedom to create, to act, and to rise purely because it aligns with who you are, not because it will earn you praise or recognition. Your journey becomes autonomous, and your life a reflection of the inner strength and clarity you have cultivated. Every step you have taken, every fall you have endured, and every moment of solitude has built this foundation. And now, when no one is standing beside you, you are not lonely, lost, or incomplete. You are whole. You are enough. You are capable. You are the source of your own power, your own guidance, and your own light. And that is how you get ahead, even when no one is there for you. Not through approval, not through validation, not through external support, but through the unshakable strength, wisdom, and presence that have always existed within. Now, as you reflect on the journey we have explored, a profound truth emerges. Getting ahead when no one is there for you is not about luck, timing, or external support. It is about the deliberate cultivation of your inner strength, the conscious decisions you make in solitude, and the willingness to face yourself fully, without distraction or escape. Each stage we have traversed, loneliness, emotional independence, self-validation, rising from failure, acting with will, and ultimately standing in your own light, has prepared you to navigate life from a place of self-sufficiency and clarity. Life will continue to test you, in ways both subtle and monumental. But the person you have become is capable of responding with resilience, courage, and wisdom. When no one cheers, when no one notices, when no one understands, you are not abandoned. You are being given the opportunity to engage with your own power in its purest form. I want you to imagine the mountain again, shrouded in fog, steep and unending. The path is yours alone, and every step is your responsibility. At first, that solitude may feel heavy, frightening, or unfair. You may wonder if it is worth walking when no one is watching. But each step you take builds more than progress. It builds character, depth, and the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can endure, create, and thrive entirely on your own. As you walk this path, you will notice that your relationship with the world changes. You no longer seek validation from others because you recognize that true approval comes from within. You no longer fear failure because you understand that every fall is a teacher, every setback an opportunity to rise with more wisdom and clarity. You no longer wait for motivation because you have learned that willpower and discipline carry you forward when feelings falter. And finally, you no longer expect understanding because you have discovered that the deepest fulfillment arises when you accept yourself fully, even if the world cannot see or grasp your journey. This process is not easy. It demands honesty, patience, and relentless courage. It requires confronting fear, shadow, and doubt. But the reward is profound. The ability to move forward with confidence, clarity, and a quiet, unwavering power. Every decision to stand, act, and rise independently strengthens the foundation of your inner life, making you resilient to disappointment, betrayal, and indifference. The world may remain silent, indifferent, or unrecognizing, but you have found the rhythm of your own heart, the source of your own guidance, and the strength that needs no witness. Carl Jung said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." The order of your life is no longer determined by the presence or absence of others. It is created by your actions, your choices, and your alignment with your own inner truth. The invisible work you do, showing up in silence, honoring your own commitments, acting with discipline, embracing failure, and trusting yourself is what shapes your destiny. Those who rise alone are not lonely, lost, or incomplete. They are the architects of their own lives, the lighthouses in the dark, the unseen forces guiding themselves and others simply through presence. The lessons we have explored remind you that the journey of self-mastery is not linear, comfortable, or universally witnessed. It is a path of courage, persistence, and unwavering trust in yourself. You learn that strength is not measured by applause, success, or recognition, but by the willingness to endure, act, and rise in the absence of all external validation. This is how you get ahead, even when no one is there for you. By cultivating resilience in solitude, mastering your emotions, embracing your failures, acting through willpower, and finally, standing fully in your own light, you discover the freedom, clarity, and power that allow you to thrive regardless of circumstance. No one can take this away from you because it has always been within. The person who walks this path alone becomes not just successful, but authentic, grounded, and unshakable. They rise not because the world lifts them, but because they have learned the most essential lesson of all. The power to advance, endure, and flourish lies entirely within themselves. And as you continue on this path, remember this: the mountain may still be covered in fog, the path may still be unseen, and the world may still remain silent. But you are no longer waiting. You are walking with your own light, guided by your own strength, and creating a life that is entirely your own. That is the ultimate secret to getting ahead, even when no one is there for you. As we reach the end of this journey, one truth becomes crystal clear. You have the power to rise, thrive, and succeed, even when no one is there to see, support, or understand you. Life does not always provide applause, guidance, or validation, but it does offer the opportunity to discover the extraordinary strength that resides within. Every lonely night, every fall, every moment of doubt has been shaping you, teaching you and preparing you for this very moment. Carl Jung reminded us that true transformation begins in solitude, in the willingness to face yourself honestly, to embrace your shadows, and to act with unwavering resolve. When you stop seeking validation, stop relying on others for comfort, and stop expecting the world to notice, you step into a freedom few ever experience. The freedom to be fully, authentically, and unshakably yourself. You are no longer dependent on applause or understanding, because your strength comes from within. Your failures become lessons, your discipline becomes power, and your presence becomes a guiding light, not just for yourself, but for others who may one day follow a similar path. The world may remain silent, indifferent, or unseeing, but that does not diminish your progress. The mountain you climb, even in fog and solitude, is yours to conquer. And as you continue forward, remember this: every step you take, every challenge you overcome, and every moment you rise without support builds a foundation no one can shake. The greatest victories are often unseen, the deepest strength often unrecognized, and the truest success comes from learning to stand, act, and shine entirely on your own. You are capable, resilient, and enough exactly as you are. Stand in your light, trust your journey, and rise with confidence. Because the power to get ahead has always been within you.